we finally made it to the philodendron video I thought we would never get here. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Shannon. This is Planted 386, and I love all things houseplants. I'm so happy that you're here. If you're new, I hope you'll consider subscribing by the end. I'm pretty new here to YouTube. Try to get a video out as often as possible. But here we are. We made it to philodendrons. I really thought this day would never come, honestly. I've been trying to film this video forever. If you're returning, hi. Thank you for coming back. So appreciate you. Yeah, let's get into it. Without further ado, we've waited a long time for this one. If you're new, you probably don't know, I have two puppies. They are playing right now, so you may hear pitter-patter of their feet in the background. I did remove my earrings because I noticed in the last clip that they were, or in the intro, they were clinking, and we don't want that for the entire video, but I have been basically documenting my plants by genus here on the channel, and so far I've done Hoya, I've done Anthurium, but I've really been wanting to do Philos, because Philos and Monstera are pretty much what got me into houseplants. This one's been long overdue, and I'm super excited to share with you. Okay, so the first one I have to show you is my Philodendron Billietiae. He's a little wonky, you know, he kind of just goes wherever he wants to go. I am undecided if I want to put him on a pole. I've seen some really beautiful Billietiaes like out and about at, you know, different growers where I've seen some in like hanging baskets. I've seen them in ways that are not on the moss pole, and I kind of liked it. I think because this plant is so I don't know, he's so cartoony in itself that I think just having it kind of grow wild is perfectly okay in my book. I also am not a huge fan of moss poles. I don't like maintaining them. I think they're a lot of work. I know that's probably it's probably a sensitive topic, but it's just kind of how I feel about it. I've just reserved the moss pools in my house for plants that I really, really want to see, you know, exponential growth. Anyway, he's simple. He's just, you know, it's taken me a long time to get here. When I bought him, I paid 15 bucks. I'm growing him in terracotta and just like my chunky aroid soil. And these were like his little baby starter leaves. So yeah, it took him a while to kind of take off, but here we are. I also really love terracotta for philodendrons. I've kind of learned that because of their delicate root system, it just seems to work out better for me and my personal watering preferences to keep them in like clay or terracotta. So this is my Philodendron Florida Beauty. I have shown her to you guys several times now. She's one of my all-time favorite plants. That is her newest leaf. Stunning. She's just always putting out beautiful variegation. Absolutely stunning. Again, I just have her in terracotta. I do have her on a cocoa pole, which honestly, I'm perfectly good with the cocoa poles. Again, I know another kind of topic, I know another topic that people, it's just very like, you either like a cocoa pole or you hate a cocoa pole. You know what I mean? I am on team cocoa pole. What about you? Do you hate cocoa poles or do you love them? Okay, I put the puppies outside because the squeaking is, I'm sure, super annoying, right? All right, next up is my tortum. So this is my tortum. Another one that is kind of, okay. It started out not on a pole, like no support, and it was doing fantastic. And then it just started like with the petiole thing where, you know, the petioles are just everywhere. And it was taking up so much space. So I decided to kind of just like train it to start wrapping around this cocoa pole, which has helped considerably. Of course, I am now at the end of my pole, so it definitely needs a larger one. I also have this like kind of growing right up next to the window, so it can find support just by the blinds. I could do that, but I am noticing like the leaves have, you guys can't even see that, they're sizing down just since I did this. But honestly, I don't mind that. For me, the beauty of this specific plant is specifically the shape and just the leaves overall. I don't really care about, I guess I don't really care about the way it's presented, so long as like the foliage is the main focal point. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I just really, I don't care to grow like a huge, massive tortum. I'm really happy to just have a really beautiful, interesting tortum, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. Anyway, so that's that guy. Next is a trailing one. I thought I would switch it up a little bit. So this is just my Philodendron micans, as you can see. I recently just potted her into this larger pot, and so she's gonna have a couple dead leaves. I also took several propagations because this plant is a prolific grower for me. I'm not the best with like vining philodendrons or pothos in general. I know that's kind of probably surprising. Most people who are into plants really do well with those, but for some reason, I don't know, I can't seem to keep pothos alive. If I do, they're never really beautiful specimens. But this philodendron micans has, my goodness, I think I bought her in just like the little tiny pots from Lowe's that are like $4. I think last year, and she has just given me so many vines. I'm constantly cutting this plant, and so yeah, I just basically added back some of the propagation. So some of them will make it, some of them won't. I propagated them in water, and I am just currently growing her in my soil mix. I just think this plant is so stunning. I know it probably doesn't look like much, but sitting where she sits, it really, there's just something so moody about it. I love the color of these leaves. Like, I will never be without a micans. If something happened to that one, that's definitely one I would repurchase. I can't say the same for like some of my other vining plants, but that one for sure. Okay, next is this big girl here. This is my Philodendron gigas, or gigas, I guess tomato. I pronounce it gigas. Anyway, I purchased her from EFG last year. I'm not sure when, but this plant has been, we've been on a little bit of a journey. When I first got it, it grew like nobody's business. I had no problems with it at all. And then I did find myself struggling over the winter to keep her happy. This is 3 or 4 vines that I have just kind of going up the pole. I'm trying to give you a nice little spin, but it's actually pretty heavy. I am growing it in my aeroid mix in just this crock. I can't say that, let me see here. It has been pretty easy going for me overall, but like any velvety plant, you will have issues with spider mites. I'm sure you see spider mite damage on here. I have had to treat this plant several times for spider mites, but overall it's pretty simple. I just pretty much let her do her thing, She doesn't like to dry out a ton. So I do try to make sure her soil never fully dries out. That's when you can get the crisping. But overall, yeah, it's just a great little plant. Okay, next, Philodendron Florida Green. So this is just the simple Philodendron Florida Green. Nothing very fancy or special. She's just the green form. But, I have to say I love the Philodendron Florida series, if you will. I love the beauty. I love the green. I love the ghost. I think they're all so beautiful in their own way. I absolutely adore the shape of these leaves. I mean, that's really what it's all about for me. And just the more mature they get, the more mature they get, the cooler they get. I mean, just they look like little cartoon characters. I feel like each leaf should have its own name and like persona. You know what I mean? The only thing with this plant is it does produce a ton of EFN. Can you see that? I don't know if you guys can see it. It's dripping everywhere. Everywhere. I do have a new vine starting. I don't know how well you guys are able to see. This is such a big, I don't know if you can even tell. She's big. So it's kind of hard to like hold it and show you, but I do have another vine kind of coming in right here to kind of fill in some of these gaps. I did propagate it, and I had a pretty easy time propagating this plant, to be honest. Pretty decent success rate. So if you have one and you want to chop it, but you're afraid, I'd say don't be afraid. I mean, come on, how sweet. How sweet are these little leaves? Okay, so I'm going to show you another trailing one. This is Philodendron Silver Stripe. I do keep her in my one of my IKEA cabinets. It doesn't get the most light, so she hasn't grown a ton, but what I can say is she's grown very like compact. I actually have never taken her out of her original pot, which is very strange. I always repot my plants pretty much right away, but because I don't do well with vining philodendrons, I just left it alone. And honestly, I would say it's definitely ready for a repot now. I did pick this up from Canopy Plant Co. I do find this plant to be absolutely stunning. I have propagated from it, and it's easy to propagate. I think it just looks beautiful. And this is just like a random pot that I found at the thrift store that we clean every Thursday. I think I'm gonna do a video just on my pots because I do love collecting unique and different pots, and I'm into pottery in general. So if that's something you guys would be interested in, let me know. I know I would love to film it. Okay, so on a sad note, I have to show you this one. This is my very sad, I'm just gonna take it out of the cover pot, Philodendron Silver Sword. So, this is so sad for me. I really, really love this plant, but it's very dry. Normally my plants don't dry out. I tend to be an overwaterer, but she could definitely use a drink. We'll give her one. Anyway, I've just struggled with this plant. It always gets stuck like in the caterpillar, you know, doing the little Cinderella thing. And while I love the color, I'm not sure I would buy another one. I might be interested in like getting a nice sized, like maybe 1 or 2 leaf cutting of like a more mature specimen and trying that way. But honestly, I'm not sure how much longer this is going to be in my collection, but yes, Philodendron Silver Sword. It's sad because I used to really love her, and I still do. Let's go ahead and give her a little water. I always have a canteen like around. You guys too? Like, is there a canteen on every table of your house? If you have a lot of houseplants, probably. Okay, and then the last one is one of my very favorites. This is my Philodendron Splendid. You may see a spider web. It is indeed an actual spider web. It is not spider mites. But that is one of her newer leaves. She has another one on the way, or maybe she does have some spider mites. Do you, or is that EFN? No, it's definitely EFN. That is my one downside with this plant, is because the leaves are so thin, when it does get EFN or produce EFN, which it will, it tends to burn through these really delicate leaves very easily. But that's just kind of like what the bottom looks like. I do have this one on a moss pole because I would like to see some amazing splendid leaves someday. Pretty easy to grow. It did take a while to kind of establish itself once I brought it home, but once it, you know, figured out what's going on, it started putting out leaves like crazy. I can't even get it all in the frame, honestly. That is the newest one. And then this is the one it's about to unfurl. And then she's got another, like, it just keeps going. I do need to extend this pole. I will say I don't love the space, like the internodal spacing, I feel like is extreme. But who knows, maybe I can air layer it. The roots don't even seem to be growing into the moss, even when I like had it wet. Okay, so I am home from work now, little outfit change. It's very hot today, and we're gonna continue on. So next up is my Philodendron Spiritus Sancti. So I got this last year sometime. A local nursery to us got them in, and I literally couldn't resist, although I was super terrified. This is back when plants were still going for a decent amount. I think this is the most that I ever paid for a plant, and in hindsight, it's kind of like, but you know, I wouldn't do it over again. I really enjoy her. We've kind of been on a bit of a journey together. She was so tiny when I got her, so she didn't really have a massive root system, and I really felt like I was taking on a risk. I didn't know really what I was doing at the time. But yeah, super exciting. She does have a new leaf coming. We've waited for this leaf. And the only thing that I could say at this point, you know, I've been growing it for a while, is again with the philodendron and the EFN. This one puts out a lot of EFN, you know, and it really does mar the leaves. So this one stayed really nice. It's kind of like, you know, some of them stay nice and some of them get a little burnt. Like this one's burnt. You know, there's just like spots everywhere, but overall, like I said, it's been fun. We've been on a journey. I do love like these beautiful like striping on the veins. Can you see that? Just like the way that leaf, it's kind of hard to, I don't know. There's just like a nice like stripe, a nice like vein. And it looks like on this new leaf, I'm gonna get a little of that as well. And I do love the color of these leaves as they come in. I love the shape of these leaves, and I love a mature spiritus leaf. So I'm hoping that eventually we'll get there. Okay, next is Philodendron melanochrysum. Okay. This is another one. This plant was gifted to me generously from a friend of mine. Her name is Samantha. And I must say, while I enjoy this plant, it's been a challenge. I'm grateful to have it. It's been fun. When I say a challenge, I don't want that to sound like, you know, I'm unhappy growing the plant. I enjoy growing the plant. If I didn't, I wouldn't continue to grow it. But it's kept me on my toes. I have propagated this plant successfully. But I don't know if it's one that, like, if something happens to this one, I'm not sure I would redo it. I think I much prefer my Splendid. I think my Splendid definitely gives me an easier time. What I have found with this plant is it really prefers a greenhouse setting. In my conditions, I mean, and I live in Florida, whenever it's out of my cabinets, it doesn't do well. It's also another EFN, you know, magnet. This is the newest leaf, so that's unfortunate to see. Just, you know, I don't know. I am finding myself leaning more on Anthurium and a little less on Philos, and a big reason is the EFN. Okay, next is Philodendron Golden Crocodile. This was one of my original plants, like when I first started getting into it, and my have we been through it. She is currently living in Pawn. This looks like an absolute disaster, but nonetheless, she thrives on, so I don't mess with her. And she does live in a relatively dark spot. She lives actually on top of my Millsbow Tall, and it really doesn't get a lot of light up there, especially for a Philo. But yeah, she just carries on. I've had her in really high lighting. I've had her in super low lighting. If you're looking for a super easy Philo, one that is just going to get along with you no matter what, I would say this is a great place to start. Not only that, we pretty much started back over from like, gosh, I think 2 or 3 leaves, because this is one of the first plants that our boxer puppy made contact with. And that is a polite way of putting it. He actually knocked this over and it just went on its top. So basically it broke all of her leaves and we had to just start over from scratch. And at this point I put her in a super bright window. She started to come back and I kind of made that window like a cactus window now. So yeah, she lives on top of the Millsbow and she's doing great. I think she's super fun. It's kind of underrated, I feel like. And the new leaves come in this like really pretty peach, really pretty peachy color. Okay, so the next 3 are basically starting over from scratch. These are 3 that our boxer puppy, Samson, he definitely experimented with them. So I just basically tried to start them over. What can you do? He was fine nonetheless. And I think he just more so like played with them, because I was able to start a lot of them over. Well, all of them over. I'm hoping they'll lay down because I can hear them walking around. So I'm sorry. Anyway, so the first one is Philodendron. This one was White Princess. You can see the pink on the stem, which is what makes it a white princess. It's a little bit dehydrated. I accidentally let the moss dry out a little bit, so we're gonna rehydrate her. She did put out a new leaf. She has a new one coming, and I do see roots in here, so she has started over, which is good to see. And I do keep her, a lot of my props, and when I'm starting something over, like Philos, any Scindapsus or like little pothos cuttings I take, I definitely like to start those in my hutch that we have converted into a little greenhouse cabinet. For some reason, just the lighting, things do well in there. I believe it stays nice and humid, like consistently humid. There's no like fluctuations, ironically. So yeah, and actually the light that I have is not like a super great grow light, but for some reason, plants seem to root really well in there. And it frees up my other cabinet. So anyway, that's her. The next one is Philodendron Ring of Fire. And honestly, guys, it's not looking great. I do see roots, but I don't see like any new growth point. This is mushy, so I'm not really sure. I'll have to get in there and kind of like fiddle around and just kind of see what we're working with. But yes, hopefully this will be a case of like the golden crocodile where it'll just start over. But yeah, I kind of needed to get in there and dig around. And then the last one, the one I guess I was like the most sad about, he did also rip up it was a Monstera Stanleyana. So I was really sad about that one, but this one I was probably the most sad about in terms of like philodendron. So this is my Philodendron domesticum variegata. And as we can see, it's giving me a all green leaf. Sadly, maybe it'll have like a little bit of variegation after it hardens off, like wishful thinking. It's been through it though, in all fairness, and I would just have to chop it, which is no problem. It does have a ton of roots, and I did accidentally let it dry out as well, so it seems to me like this is a relatively easy one to propagate. I literally started with nothing. And it's odd. I don't know if this is like multiple cuttings at this point. You are the culprit. Yeah. I don't know if it's multiple cuttings in there or if I just like started one long vine. I can't imagine I would start one long vine. No, it couldn't have been because he would have definitely shredded it. So anyway, this plant has beautiful variegation. This is one that I got from Blue Moon Tropicals, and I'm just really hoping that we're not reverting. But it's good to see that she's rooted because I kind of just set it and forget it. Now, the last ones, we are gonna just go around a lot. They're too big to move, or I just don't want to move them. So I'm just gonna take the camera around and show you guys the remaining philodendron. Some of them are outside too. So let's. Okay, next is my Philodendron Ploumanii. And I must say, these leaves they're really dusty. And I don't see any spider mites, but I do see some on this older leaf. So I should just get rid of that. Anyway, I think this is such a beautiful plant. It is easygoing. I literally had 0 issues with this outside of, you know, spider mites, which honestly is just like a thing around here. It's not really something that like I get too worked up about. It's just annoying over anything. And she is actually giving me a new leaf, which I know is backlit, but comes out like I don't know, like a peachy tone to it. Okay. So let me move this. In this corner, I have Philodendron mame, Philodendron varicosum, Philodendron brandytianum. So these are all here and just like some old DIY pond. This is where plants go when they consistently give me a hard time, like when I'm trying to grow them inside. So as you see, I throw them out here. I literally give them 0 attention other than just like filling up their reservoir. And she just gave me this stunning leaf. This plant gives me nightmares, so I just leave her out here. Spider mite magnet. Same thing with this one. So yeah, they just kind of live out here, and it is what it is. This down here is my Philodendron atabapoense. She's a cutie. We like her. She is about to give me this gorgeous leaf, which I'm pretty excited about because this was the first one she gave me in my care. I've had this plant a while and it just like remained dormant until I moved her out here, and then she gave me this. I also started watering this plant far more, and that's also when she started giving me growth. And now that she's giving me growth, I'm really starting to enjoy her. Look at these aerial roots. I think this will definitely be like an easy one to propagate, and I will probably do that here pretty soon. Okay, this is my Philodendron gloriosum. She has been through it. She has been through it, but she's on the rebound. She's got some really beautiful leaves coming in. This is a new one. This is a new one. This is relatively new. This is new. So yeah, there's multiple growth points in here. I got her from EFG around, I would say like this time last year. And overall, this plant is super easygoing for me, other than the fact that it just gets spider mites. I will say it does have some thrips. I did treat it with systemic granules, and I'm seeing that is not taking care of it. Usually I have had luck where I just have to treat them one time. So I'm gonna go ahead and treat her again, and everything probably in this pergola space. Sorry, we live by an airport. Always gonna be a helicopter. Okay. So yeah, anyway, I'll treat it again. Another leaf coming. I need to wash my hands now. But I need to treat everything in this area. Obviously, we have an issue. But overall, I enjoy her. Okay, breaking up dog fights. This is Painted Lady.
She is all over the place, and I kind of like her like that. She's another one that I'm kind of looking to part ways with. Don't mind the mess, you guys. We had a nasty storm over here a couple days ago, and I just haven't got to it yet. Um, Easy peasy plant. Easy peasy plant. It's just, like I said, I'm kind of parting with some of my Philos and leaning more on Anthurium. Okay, I'm hoping you guys can see. This is my Philodendron Jose Bueno. This is her newest leaf. It's really hard for me to show you this plant, but it is a stunning, absolutely stunning specimen. She has been from day one. This plant has been nothing but a breeze for me to grow. We did kind of go through it a little bit in the winter, you know. There was just not enough light for her. She loves light. Like this is one of her, you know, original leaves. So she definitely like sized down. I think this is honestly probably too much light for her also as summer progresses here in Florida. So this is definitely something I will have to address quickly. Like I need to move her out of this spot and put something else there. And then right here, you guys, is my Philodendron Summer Glory, and I absolutely adore this plant. This is definitely one that I will like always have. I love when the new leaves come out. I think they are just so beautiful. And yeah, like I said, pardon the mess, you guys. This is her newest leaf, and I don't love this phase where it kind of gets that like muddy color, but when these first emerge, they're so fun to watch. Okay, and last one I want to show you guys is my Philodendron Prince of Orange. Leaves everywhere. She's also blooming, which is super interesting. Sorry about the planes, guys. I literally just waited for one to like fly over, and there's one in the distance, so if I wait, I'll never get this done. Yeah, so she's massive. It's like a bigger gauge. You can see things are really starting to burn up a little bit in this Florida sun, so I'm gonna have to rethink where I have things. But I actually have two Prince of Oranges. This is the big one, and then I have like a little baby one. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for sharing my philodendrons with me, and I hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe, and oh, you can follow me on Insta too if you want. Bye.